To combat procrastination and achieve meaningful progress in life, understanding and overcoming mental resistance, also known as resistance, is a crucial factor that anyone pursuing goals must master. Resistance, in its essence, is like an invisible but powerful wind, always seeking to push us back from transformative actions. It is not merely laziness or lack of motivation, but a complex psychological mechanism, often manifesting as fear, self-doubt, or sophisticated excuses that lead us to delay starting. To counter this resistance, we need to build a clear strategy with specific goals and a low starting threshold, thereby creating initial momentum, sustaining long-term progress, and turning abstract ideas into reality. Imagine resistance as an invisible monster, always lurking in the mind, whispering negative words. It's too early, you're not good enough, or starting tomorrow isn't too late. These whispers not only weaken our resolve, but also trap us in a cycle of procrastination, where grand plans are buried under the dust of vague promises. To triumph, we must learn to recognize and challenge it, not through sheer willpower alone, but through a system of actions designed to minimize friction and create small victories, thereby building momentum. Setting clear and specific goals serves as a beacon, guiding us through the fog of doubt. Instead of saying, "I want to be healthier," specify, "I will exercise for 15 minutes every day at 7 a.m." This specificity not only clarifies the path ahead, but also eliminates room for vague excuses. Moreover, a low starting threshold is a key to turning intentions into actions. When we set overly ambitious first steps, such as resolving to run a marathon in the first week, resistance quickly capitalizes on exhaustion or failure to pull us back to the starting point. Conversely, a low threshold, like walking for 10 minutes daily, is not only easy to achieve but also creates a sense of accomplishment, sparking motivation to go further. Think of this process as planting a small seed. Initially, it only needs a little water and light to sprout, but over time, it grows into a sturdy tree. Overcoming resistance is not a single battle, but a long-term war, requiring persistence and flexibility. One of the most effective ways to sustain momentum is to break large goals into small, manageable steps. For example, if you want to write a novel, instead of being overwhelmed by the thought of completing hundreds of pages, commit to writing 200 words daily. This number may seem small, but when done consistently, it accumulates into a significant body of work. Moreover, these small steps help form habits, and habits, once established, become a powerful ally in the fight against resistance. Habits are like a trail in the forest. The more you walk it, the clearer it becomes and the easier it is to travel. This does not mean resistance will disappear entirely. Even the most successful people, from renowned artists to billionaire entrepreneurs, face it daily. The difference lies in their ability to act despite its presence. They understand that waiting for the perfect moment or sudden inspiration is a trap. Instead, they start, even with the smallest steps, and let momentum naturally grow from action. Another critical aspect of combating resistance is recognizing that it is often triggered by deeper fears, such as fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of not being good enough. These fears are often masked by rationalizations, making it easy to fall into a self-destructive cycle. To break this cycle, we must cultivate self-awareness, identifying negative thoughts as they arise and questioning their validity. For instance, when you think, "I'm not good enough for this," ask yourself, "What makes me believe I'm not good enough? And can I take a small step to test my abilities?" By questioning, we can challenge limiting beliefs and create space for action. Another strategy is to leverage the power of public commitment. When you share your goals with friends, family, or community, you create an additional layer of accountability. This social pressure can be a strong motivator to overcome resistance, as no one wants to be seen as a failure in others' eyes. For example, if you publicly commit to running a 5 kilometers race in the next month, you'll have added motivation to follow through, not just for personal goals, but to keep your promise to those watching you. Furthermore, building an environment that supports action is crucial. If you want to write more, create a distraction-free workspace with a tidy desk, phone turn off, and a fixed schedule. This environment minimizes triggers for resistance, such as the temptation of social media or other distractions. Another approach is a 5-minute rule. Commit to working for just 5 minutes. Often, Once you start, you'll find yourself wanting to continue longer than planned. This technique leverages the inertia of action. Once you've begun, continuing is far easier than starting from scratch. Additionally, acknowledging and celebrating small victories is vital. Each small step completed is a brick in the foundation of greater success. Reward yourself with something, even if it's just a favorite coffee or a relaxing evening, to reinforce the sense of achievement. These rewards not only boost motivation, but also reshape how you view your journey, from a struggle against resistance to a series of successive victories. Ultimately, combating resistance requires patience with oneself. There will be days when you slip, moments when resistance wins. This does not mean you failed. Instead, view these slips as opportunities to learn. Ask yourself, what triggered resistance this time? And what can I do differently to prevent it in the future? By approaching setbacks with curiosity rather than self-criticism, you turn them into valuable lessons, making you stronger for the next leg of the journey. In conclusion, resistance is an inevitable part of any effort toward change or success. It is a natural force, but not invincible. By setting clear, specific goals, starting with low threshold, building habits, creating a supportive environment, and learning to manage setbacks, we can overcome it. This journey is not a sprint but a marathon, where each small step is a victory over resistance, bringing us closer to the best version of ourselves. Creating supportive systems and environments is a transformative approach to achieving personal goals and fostering sustainable change, allowing individuals to thrive without relying solely on the fleeting resource of willpower. Willpower, while valuable, is like a muscle that fatigues with overuse, often leaving us vulnerable to setbacks when motivation wanes or life's demands intensify. By designing intentional systems, such as habit stacking, fail-proof plans, and structured routines, and curating environments that nurture positivity and clarity, we can create a framework that effortlessly guides us toward success. This approach is not about forcing ourselves to push through challenges with sheer determination, but about constructing a scaffolding that makes desired behaviors feel natural and inevitable. Imagine waking up each morning in a space that inspires focus. A clean desk with only the essentials, bathed in soft natural light, free from the clutter that tugs at your attention. Picture a daily routine where small, intentional habits, like drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning or reviewing your goals while sipping coffee, are seamlessly linked to existing behaviors, creating a rhythm that propels you forward without conscious effort. This is the power of systems and environments. They act as silent allies, reducing friction and amplifying our ability to stay consistent. Habit stacking, a cornerstone of this philosophy, involves anchoring new habits to established ones, creating a chain of behaviors that flow effortlessly. For example, if you already brush your teeth every night, you might stack a habit of journaling 3 things you're grateful for immediately afterward. Over time, this pairing becomes automatic, bypassing the need for willpower. Similarly, fail-proof plans anticipate obstacles and create contingencies, ensuring that even when life throws curveballs, you remain on track. If your goal is to exercise daily, a fail-proof plan might involve keeping a pair of running shoes by the door, scheduling workouts at a time when you're most energized, and having a backup indoor routine for rainy days. These systems work because they remove decision fatigue, the mental exhaustion that comes from constantly choosing to act in alignment with your goals. Instead of wrestling with whether to go to the gym, the system makes it the default choice. Environments, too, play a critical role in shaping behavior. A cluttered, chaotic space can subtly erode focus, while a tidy, purposeful one invites clarity and action. Consider the kitchen of someone striving to eat healthier. If the counter is laden with snacks and the fridge is stocked with processed foods, resisting temptation requires immense willpower. But if the kitchen is reorganized, fresh fruits and vegetables prominently displayed, unhealthy options tucked away or eliminated, the environment nudges healthier choices without conscious effort. The people we surround ourselves with are equally influential. Positive, supportive individuals who share or respect your goals can amplify your motivation, while those who undermine or distract can sap it. Imagine trying to focus on writing a novel while surrounded by naysayers who dismiss your ambitions. Now contrast that with a community of fellow writers who celebrate your progress and offer constructive feedback. The difference is profound. By curating relationships that uplift and inspire, you create a social environment that reinforces your aspirations. This holistic approach, combining intentional systems with nurturing environments, acknowledges that humans are not machines fueled by endless reserves of discipline. Instead, we are creatures of context, heavily influenced by our surroundings and routines. To illustrate, let's consider the story of Emma, a young professional aiming to build a consistent fitness routine. Initially, Emma relied on willpower, dragging herself to the gym after long work days, only to skip sessions when stress or fatigue overwhelmed her. Frustrated, she decided to redesign her approach. She began by habit stacking. After her morning coffee, she would spend 5 minutes stretching, a small action that felt manageable and naturally led to longer workouts over time. She also created a fail-proof plan. She joined a gym near her office, packed her workout clothes the night before, and scheduled sessions with a trainer to ensure accountability. To optimize her environment, Emma cleared her living room of distractions, setting up a small workout corner with a yoga mat and dumbbells for days she couldn't make it to the gym. She also distanced herself from colleagues who encouraged unhealthy habits like late-night takeout, and instead joined a running club where she met like-minded individuals who cheered her progress. Within months, Emma's fitness routine became second nature, not because her willpower grew stronger, but because her systems and environment made consistency effortless. This example underscores a key truth. Sustainable change comes from designing life in a way that aligns with our goals, not from fighting against our natural tendencies. Systems like habit stacking work because they leverage the brain's love for patterns and predictability. Neurologically, habits form through a loop of cue, routine, and reward. By linking a new habit to an existing cue, like tying meditation to your morning shower, and rewarding yourself with something small, like a favorite podcast afterward, you create a loop that strengthens over time. Fail-proof plans, meanwhile, account for the reality that life is unpredictable. They anticipate moments of weakness or disruption and provide preemptive solutions, like keeping healthy snacks on hand for late-night cravings or scheduling catch-up days for tasks you might miss. Environments, both physical and social, amplify these systems by removing barriers and reinforcing positive cues. A study from Stanford University found that people are 40% more likely to achieve their goals when their environment is designed to support them, whether through visual reminders like a vision board or social accountability like a workout partner. This is why decluttering your workspace or surrounding yourself with supportive people isn't just a nice-to-have. It's a game changer. Consider the broader implications. In workplaces, schools, or even communities, supportive systems and environments can drive collective success. Companies that foster collaboration, provide clear workflows, and create inspiring office spaces see higher productivity and morale. Schools that implement structured study routines and nurturing classroom environments help students thrive academically and emotionally. Communities that prioritize green spaces, accessible resources, and positive social networks empower residents to lead healthier, more connected lives. The beauty of this approach is its universality. It applies to personal goals, professional aspirations, and societal progress. Yet, designing these systems and environments requires intentionality. It starts with self-awareness. Identifying your goals, recognizing your triggers, and understanding your weaknesses. From there, you can craft systems that align with your natural rhythms. If you're a night owl, scheduling creative work in the evening rather than forcing it in the morning respects your biology and reduces reliance on willpower. Similarly, curating an environment means making deliberate choices about what and who surrounds you. This might mean saying no to relationships that drain you or investing in tools that streamline your work, like a productivity app or a well-organized planner. Technology, too, can be a powerful ally in building supportive systems. Apps like Todoist or Notion allow you to create structured task lists that break goals into manageable steps, while wearable devices can track habits like sleep or exercise, providing data to refine your routines. However, technology must be used mindfully. Endless notifications or social media distractions can undermine even the best systems. Curating a digital environment, such as muting group chats that derail focus or unfollowing accounts that spark comparison, is just as important as organizing your physical space. The cumulative effect of these efforts is a life where progress feels less like a battle and more like a natural extension of your daily existence. This doesn't mean eliminating willpower entirely. There will always be moments that require grit, but it means reserving willpower for the big challenges, not the daily grind. By front-loading the effort into designing systems and environments, you create a foundation that carries you forward even when motivation dips. Take the example of James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, who popularized the concept of habit stacking. Clear argues that small incremental changes, stacked onto existing routines, compound over time to create remarkable results. His own journey of rebuilding his life after a sports injury involved creating systems like writing for 20 minutes daily after breakfast and surrounding himself with mentors who encourage growth. These small shifts, supported by a conducive environment, led to a best-selling book and a global movement. Clear's story highlights another key aspect. Systems and environments are not static. They evolve as your goals and circumstances change. What works in your 20s may not suit your 30s, and a system designed for a single person may need tweaking for a parent. Flexibility is crucial. Regularly assessing and adjusting your systems ensures they remain aligned with your priorities. For instance, if a once effective morning routine starts feeling stale, you might experiment with new habits or reorder existing ones to reignite momentum. Similarly, as relationships or work environments shift, you may need to recalibrate your social circle or workspace to maintain positivity and focus. This adaptability ensures that your systems remain supportive rather than restrictive. Another compelling aspect of this approach is its accessibility. You don't need vast resources or exceptional talent to create supportive systems and environments, just intentionality and a willingness to experiment. A student on a tight budget can reorganize their dorm room to minimize distractions, stack study sessions onto their morning routine, and join a study group for accountability. A busy parent can create a fail-proof meal prep system by batch cooking on weekends and enlist family members for support. Even in resource-scarce settings, small tweaks, like keeping a notebook by your bed for brainstorming or walking with friends to stay active, can yield outsized results. The key is starting small and building gradually, trusting that consistency compounds. Over time, these systems and environments become self-reinforcing, creating a virtuous cycle where success breeds more success. This approach also counters the myth of the self-made individual who succeeds through willpower alone. No one achieves greatness in a vacuum. Behind every success story is a web of systems, environments, and support networks that make it possible. Acknowledging this doesn't diminish personal effort. It empowers us to take control of the factors within our reach. By designing our days, spaces, and relationships with intention, we create a life where progress is not a struggle but a natural outcome. Imagine a world where everyone embraces philosophy, workplaces designed to foster creativity, homes that inspire calm and focus, communities that uplift and empower. The ripple effects will be profound, transforming not just individual lives but entire societies. For now, the invitation is personal. Take stock of your goals, audit your environment, and build systems that make your aspirations inevitable. The beauty of supportive systems and environments lies in their simplicity and power. They don't demand perfection, only intention. By making small, deliberate choices, stacking habits, planning for obstacles, curating spaces, and choosing positive influences, you create a life where success is not a matter of willpower but a matter of design. Adopting a growth mindset is a transformative journey, one that reshapes how we perceive challenges, failures, and our own potential, guiding us toward a life of continuous learning and resilience. At its core, a growth mindset is about focusing on the process rather than the outcome, viewing failures as stepping stones to growth, and taking action despite the ebb and flow of emotions. This mindset, as championed by psychologist Carol Dweck, contrasts sharply with a fixed mindset, where individuals believe their abilities are static and unchangeable. In a world that often glorifies instant success and perfection, embracing a growth mindset is a radical act of self-empowerment, one that unlocks endless possibilities and fosters a deeper connection with our own capacity for change. It is not a destination but a way of being, a commitment to seeing every moment, whether triumphant or trying, as an opportunity to evolve. The essence of a growth mindset lies in prioritizing the process over the outcome. In a society obsessed with results, whether it's a promotion, a perfect score, or a flawless performance, It's easy to fall into the trap of measuring our worth by external achievements. However, this fixation can stifle progress, as it ties our self-esteem to fleeting moments of success or failure. A growth mindset shifts the focus of the journey itself. The small, deliberate steps we take, the skills we hone, and the effort we invest. Consider a young artist learning to paint. If she fixates solely on creating a masterpiece, every imperfect stroke might feel like a defeat. But if she embraces the process, experimenting with colors, refining her technique, and studying the works of masters, she begins to see each canvas as a lesson, not a verdict. This perspective transforms her work from a series of high-stakes tests into a playground of exploration. Over time, her skills improve not because she chased perfection, but because she committed to the act of creating day after day. This is a power of process. It liberates us from the pressure of immediate results and invites us to find joy in the act of becoming. Focusing on the process also cultivates patience, a quality often undervalued in our fast-paced world. When we prioritize outcomes, we crave instant gratification, and delays or setbacks can feel like personal affronts. A growth mindset, however, teaches us to appreciate the slow, incremental nature of progress. Take the example of an entrepreneur launching a startup. The road to success is rarely linear. It's filled with pivots, rejections, and unexpected hurdles. If the entrepreneur measures success only by the end goal, a thriving business, she might give up when the first prototype fails or when investors turn her away. But with a growth mindset, she sees each setback as part of the process. A failed prototype reveals what doesn't work. A rejection from an investor sparks a better pitch, and a slow quarter teaches her to adapt her strategy. By valuing the journey, she builds resilience and a deeper understanding of her craft, which ultimately paves the way for success. This approach doesn't just apply to professional pursuits. It's equally relevant in personal growth, relationships, and creative endeavors. Whether learning a new language or nurturing a friendship, the process-oriented mindset reminds us that progress is built through consistent effort, not overnight triumphs. Equally critical to a growth mindset is the ability to view failures as lessons rather than dead ends. Failure is one of life's most universal experiences, yet it carries a stigma that can paralyze even the most ambitious among us. In a fixed mindset, failure is a reflection of inherent inadequacy, a sign that we're not good enough. A growth mindset flips this narrative, reframing failure as a teacher, rich with insights. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, who famously conducted thousands of experiments before perfecting the light bulb. Each unsuccessful attempt wasn't a mark of defeat, but a step closer to discovery. When asked about his failures, Edison reportedly said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This perspective is a cornerstone of the growth mindset. Every misstep is a data point. Every rejection a chance to refine our approach. By embracing failure as a natural part of learning, we strip it of its power to define us and instead use it as fuel for growth. This redefinition of failure is not just about intellectual acceptance, but about emotional resilience. It requires us to sit with discomfort, to face the sting of disappointment without letting it derail our efforts. For instance, imagine a student preparing for a competitive exam. After months of study, she fails to achieve the score she hoped for. In a fixed mindset, she might conclude that she's not smart enough and abandon her dreams. But with a growth mindset, she reflects on what went wrong. Perhaps her study methods were ineffective or she struggled with time management. She seeks feedback, adjusts her approach, and tries again, knowing that the failure is not a verdict on her intelligence but a signal to adapt. This shift doesn't erase the pain of failure, but it transforms it into a catalyst for improvement. Over time, this student learns not only the subject matter, but also the invaluable skill of perseverance, which serves her far beyond the exam room. The ability to act despite fluctuating emotions is a third pillar of a growth mindset, and perhaps the most challenging. Emotions are powerful drivers of human behavior, but they are also fickle. One day, we might feel inspired and unstoppable. The next, we're plagued by doubt or exhaustion. If we wait for the right emotional state to take action, we risk stalling indefinitely. A growth mindset empowers us to move forward regardless of how we feel, recognizing that action itself can shift our emotional landscape. Take the example of a writer facing a blank page. Some days, inspiration flows effortlessly, but more often, she might feel uninspired or overwhelmed. If she waits for motivation to strike, her novel might never materialize. Instead, a growth mindset encourages her to write even on the tough days, trusting that the act of writing will generate momentum. Even a single sentence can spark creativity, and over time, those small, consistent efforts add up to a completed manuscript. This principle applies to any endeavor, exercise, learning, or even difficult conversations. By acting despite emotional fluctuations, we build discipline and prove to ourselves that progress is possible even when conditions feel less than ideal. This ability to act through emotional turbulence is closely tied to self-compassion, another hallmark of the growth mindset. When we acknowledge that emotions are transient and not always reliable indicators of our capabilities, we give ourselves permission to be imperfect. This is particularly important in a culture that often equates vulnerability with weakness. A growth mindset allows us to say, "I'm feeling discouraged, but that's okay. I'll take one small step anyway." This gentle persistence builds not only skills, but also self-trust. Over time, we learn that we don't need to feel confident to act confidently, nor do we need to feel motivated to make progress. This realization is liberating, as it frees us from the tyranny of our own emotions and empowers us to take charge of our growth. The beauty of a growth mindset is that it's accessible to everyone, regardless of age, background, or circumstances. It doesn't require extraordinary talent or resources, just a willingness to shift how we think about effort, failure, and progress. Consider a retiree learning to play the piano for the first time. She might feel intimidated by younger, more experienced musicians or frustrated by her slow progress. But by focusing on the process, practicing scales, learning to read music, and celebrating small improvements, she finds joy in the act of learning itself. When she hits a wrong note, she doesn't see it as proof of her inadequacy, but as a clue to adjust her technique. And when she feels too tired or discouraged of practice, she commits to playing just one song, knowing that consistency matters more than intensity. Over time, her skills grow, but more importantly, so does her confidence in her ability to learn and adapt. This is the magic of a growth mindset. It turns ordinary moments into opportunities for transformation. The ripple effects of a growth mindset extend beyond individual pursuits, influencing how we interact with others and navigate the world. In relationships, for example, a growth mindset encourages us to see conflicts as opportunities for deeper understanding rather than insurmountable obstacles. When a disagreement arises with a partner or friend, we can choose to focus on the process of communication, listening, reflecting, and expressing ourselves honestly, rather than fixating on winning the argument. Similarly, in professional settings, a growth mindset fosters collaboration and innovation. A team that views challenges as opportunities to learn is more likely to experiment, take risks, and find creative solutions. Even in parenting, a growth mindset can transform how we guide our children, encouraging them to embrace effort and resilience rather than seeking constant validation. By modeling a growth mindset, we inspire those around us to adopt the same approach, creating a culture of learning and adaptability. Of course, adopting a growth mindset is not without its challenges. It requires unlearning deeply ingrained habits, such as a tendency to compare ourselves to others or to seek external validation. In a world that celebrates overnight success stories and viral sensations, it can be tempting to revert to a fixed mindset, where outcomes feel like the ultimate measure of worth. Social media, with its curated highlight reels, can exacerbate this, making it easy to feel inadequate when our progress seems slower or less glamorous than others. Yet, a growth mindset reminds us that comparison is a thief of joy. Everyone's journey is unique, and progress is rarely linear. By focusing on our own process, our efforts, our lessons, our small victories, we reclaim our narrative and find fulfillment in our own growth. Another challenge is the discomfort of stepping outside our comfort zones. A growth mindset often requires us to take risks, whether it's trying a new skill, seeking feedback, or admitting we don't have all the answers. This vulnerability can be daunting, especially when we've been conditioned to equate competence with certainty. Yet, it's precisely in these moments of uncertainty that growth happens. When we stretch ourselves, whether by tackling a difficult project, asking for help, or persevering through a setback, we expand our capabilities. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes familiar, and what once seemed out of reach becomes attainable. This cycle of challenge and growth is what fuels lifelong learning and keeps us adaptable in an ever-changing world. Ultimately, a growth mindset is a gift we give ourselves, a lens through which we can view life as a series of opportunities rather than a gauntlet of tests. It's a commitment to showing up, even when the path is unclear or the outcome uncertain. It's the courage to fail, to learn, and to try again. It's the resilience to act, even when doubt or fear threatens to hold us back. By focusing on the process, embracing failures as lessons, and moving forward despite emotional fluctuations, we unlock our potential to grow, adapt, and thrive. This mindset doesn't promise a life free of obstacles, but it equips us to face them with curiosity, determination, and hope. In a world that's constantly evolving, there's no greater asset than the belief that we, too, can evolve, that every step, no matter how small, is a step toward becoming the best version of ourselves.